Welcome back. This is episode 6 of my Oxygen Not Included playthrough. In the last episode we looked at automating some hatches really early game and setting up some sort of early shipping to help support that. And that's kind of what that looks like. In this one, it's a bit unclear what I'm actually going to do, really. Which I suppose is a good thing, because it gives me a chance to figure it out. I think it might be a case of setting up some sage hatchling ranches, and that's going to take a little while because this egg's going to need to incubate, and that's going to take a while. We've got some space for this here, so I'm going to label it, if I can. Never mind, I haven't hatched one yet. Yeah, I also think it might be time to tame this natural gas vent. And consider putting that over here. That might mean replacing these with insulated tiles, but we'll soon see. So yeah, I think firstly I'm going to figure out what vent we've got here, or what geyser I should say, because I think it's just generally speaking good practice to establish what I'm working with. So I'm going to dig up just slightly. Oh, I might need to upgrade my digger. I think I should have the skill points available. I do. Yeah, so we'll get Abraham upgraded. In terms of skills, it's still quite early days, because everyone's kind of where they need to be for now. So I'm trying to keep the skill point usage quite low generally. But I think for now, I say that like I've not just invested like all of my skill points. But yeah, I think this is probably about where we want to be at, really. But yeah, they'll get started on that. In terms of resources that we have, our coal should be near where it needs to be. We'll sweep up some of the other stuff around here. And the reason that I'm doing this by hand is so I don't sweep up the coal. And then I will sweep up all of this, and sweep up all of this, and this as well. And that will all get sort of sorted. I've got... How am I looking for refined metal? Good to keep an eye on it. A little bit low. I'm going to get some iron going. I'll probably get 250 of that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they get on this quite quickly. Yeah, it's current iron type thing. Still got one sickness with Steve, with Slime Lung. Probably could do with ventilating some of this stuff out. Yeah, really, we probably should maybe put some airflow tiles in, and then that might be useful. But as I say, at the moment, everything seems to be where it should be. Food doesn't seem to be too much of an issue. Yeah, we seem to be doing okay for food. So what have we got here? Let's have a look. Let's hurry him up a little bit. We have got polluted water. Okay, so I'm going to build in 2 insulated tiles there. Probably make that 3 insulated tiles just to keep an eye on that and block that in. It's good to know that because that will come out at... Oh, that's going to come out at 30 degrees. Oh, that's perfect, really, that, isn't it? 30 degrees is... In terms of, like, working with water, 30 degrees is going to be very, very, very workable. And it shouldn't really cause us any more problems. But whether we tame that one just yet, I think the trouble is with water, I could maybe get into making a SPOM, self-powered oxygen maker, or machine. But I think we might be a little bit early for that. So I think Atmo suits are going to be the way to go now. So for Atmo suits, we need... Like, Atmo suits are going to be the next sort of big step, because we should really sort of get going and sort all of this out, and it would be easier if they were all in suits. But we do need reed fibre. Do I have reed fibre seeds, or should I do Dreckos? I've got thimble reed seeds, but I think Dreckos are going to be the way forward. Mainly because they are quite straightforward to work with. So I'm going to build in a liquid lock. If you are unfamiliar with a liquid lock, they're not too complex. You literally just build in like that, build that there, and everything else can be mined out. So I will get sort of started on jazzing this up, I suppose, a little bit, and I will cut to when that's done. Okay, so I am. I've gotten started on building this and building my liquid lock. I have connected this up here purely for saving duplicates time when running around. Hopefully this makes everything a little bit quicker. Please don't get stuck under there. Why has he done that? Right, okay. And we'll just put in I think he can jump too, so that should be fine anyway. But effectively, is he stuck there? No, yeah, of course he's stuck. Jesus. He's trapped himself there. Never mind. So, yeah, suffocating. Is he suffocating? Of course he's suffocating. Seriously, there's no sandstone for him now. There we go. He's going to be fine. Out he gets. So, effectively, what a liquid lock does, it takes advantage of a mechanic in the game to do with gas transfer, in that when you go into the materials overlay, only one gas or liquid for that matter can be in a tile. So here's a really good example. You see this tile's not full of water, no carbon dioxide is in that tile. Carbon dioxide can only go into a tile that is either carbon dioxide or empty, like a vacuum. So I'm going to sweep these up, but effectively I will demonstrate with I'll use brine, mainly because it's more thermal resistant, in that it can handle temperature better. I'm not expecting this liquid lock to need that, because it's like, it's not in a position, it's not going into an oil biome where it's going to be anywhere near 100 degrees. I'm going to have very little passing through it. One thing I will advise building, just putting a heavy conductive or joint plate there, mainly because when you get the liquid lock going, it's catastrophic to break it. So if I build that now, that will be sort of avoided any problems there, and hopefully that just makes sure that it maintains the gas pressures in both areas. But effectively there's two ways to do it. There is a super safe way, and there is a less safe way, depending on how much you care about the liquid lock. For this one, I think I will probably do the super safe way just to be thorough, but I don't really think it's particularly necessary. If there is a little bit of chlorine that gets into my base, it's not the end of the world. Same for hydrogen. It's kind of just, it'll filter up or filter down depending on whether it's chlorine or hydrogen, but it won't be such a problem where it's like sort of breaking anything. So yeah, on that note, I'm just going to do what's called a normal liquid lock, which is that, and that liquid lock is now done. So effectively here, because of the materials overlay, there is 36 grams of brine, and nothing else. So, and same for here, 200 kilos of brine, nothing else. So the carbon dioxide can't get through. When that's chlorine, it can go wrong with this because it's such a little amount that it can just sort of break quite easily. But as I say, it's not a particularly important thing for this type of liquid lock, because it's kind of like, well, if it breaks, heaven forbid, a little bit of chlorine gets in the base. But it will be good to get access to the Caustic Biome, because with me wanting to do Atmo suits, I've decided I'm not going to plant thimbleweed. I will just ranch these Dreckos, and that will support in me giving a bit of an overview in what early game Drecko ranching looks like. Because Dreckos are, generally speaking, Dreckos can be used for plastic and thimbleweed or reed fibre for your Atmo suits and your clothing, should you want to do clothing. But I will be setting them up mainly for plastic once I've gotten the initial setup of sort of reed fibre. You don't need loads of reed fibre. I've found that sort of once I get my early game set up, and by the time that I've actually got my ranches going, I never need any more. So I'll probably just build one ranch like here, maybe. Am I on for that? Maybe a little bit further up. These gases will sort themselves out. It will just naturally filter down and up and whatever else. Basically all of the chlorine will sink, all of the hydrogen will rise, and from that we will be left, hopefully, ideally, with a nice hydrogen filled area for my Dreckos to sit. I will also show you a trick that I do with the way that I feed my Dreckos, but that's all to be looked forward to. So I will get to work hollowing this biome out a little bit, and I will cut to when that's sort of done. Okay, so I think now would be a good time to talk about why these biomes can be really difficult, and why liquid locks in this specific scenario are kind of necessary. So when you look at the material overlay for liquid locks, you'll see that the chlorine is sitting there. Really, this should be moving and diffusing with the carbon dioxide the way it has here. Chlorine should really be coming over here, carbon dioxide should be coming over here, but because we've got the liquid lock, that's prevented. Now, chlorine itself, I wouldn't say it's a particularly dangerous gas. It is useful for killing germs, but it is really kind of difficult for your duplicants, because when they go in there, they get eye irritation. So, for instance, Abe here, it's either chlorine or hydrogen, or one of the things from the biome. It really upsets his eyes, or it should anyway. So, yeah, eye irritation there. And that's from chlorine. And that basically reduces his athletics, which is obviously not great. It's a kind of a similar problem that we had with the slime lung, except for the fact that it goes based on sort of seconds, and it's not really an illness, which is, I suppose it's kind of helpful because you can kind of just take them out. But that's kind of the reason we want to keep everything here. I also like maintaining the biome in the sense that I like to have my caustic biome. I like the hydrogen to stay here, I like the chlorine to stay here. I can work with that. So here I've basically built a small little station, I suppose. I'll probably get rid of this ladder and have them come from this way, but I'll be able to put Atmo suits in here. They will use the liquid lock and no eye irritation, and they should be fine. But it does mean that whilst I am getting that set up, and whilst I'm getting the Drecko Ranch set up, they will suffer with eye irritation quite frequently, which is obviously not great. They can't breathe in here, and whilst they step in the water, they get soggy feet and chilly surroundings, which also is just a negative debuff. So it's not ideal. Truthfully, this isn't the way I'd like to do it. I would like to get Atmo suits or oxygen masks set up sooner, because it prevents stuff like this when he needs to be going and eating, and he can't because he's having to take breaks and he's slow. But I mean, it's kind of a workable situation, because you're like, well, I don't really need Atmo suits for this. They can manage. They're not going to die. It's just everything goes a little bit slower. But once I've got the Drecko Ranches in, they'll only really have to pop in here every now and again. And they will be similarly sized. I'll try for 100. I'll try for 100 tiles on these guys, and hopefully that kind of sorts itself out. I'm building out of granite mainly because there is none of it here, actually. I am not building out of granite, I'm building out of igneous rock, because there is loads of it here. And I would probably advise trying to do that across your base. If you can build out of the resource that you have in abundance close to it, it means your duplicates won't have to travel as far. These are all waiting for granite, which is why they'll be taking a while. Whereas if I set it to igneous rock, they will kind of just get done so much quicker. So yeah, I would do that. But yeah, I will cut back in when I've sort of got the Drecko Ranches hollowed out, I should say. But you'll see here as well, I am doing the insulated tile from this side, because if I were to do it from this side, there would be gas transfer over. So it's important to remember that, like, if I built a tile here, there would be a time spent where the gas can move between the two places, and I'm really wanting to keep all of this stuff kind of separate. But yeah, I'll cut back in once this is kind of set up a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so now seems like a good time to talk about Dreckos, how they work, what they're used for, when they're used, and sort of the best way to get the most out of them. Now, you don't need to immediately put them all in ranches. You can kind of just shear them on a, like, when you sort of need to do it. But I like ranching them mainly because I use them for my plastic, because plastic presses create a hell of a lot of heat output, and that is just, I mean, it's not great for me. So Dreckos themselves, these guys live quite happily at most temperatures. If you build straight into the biome, you're likely not going to overheat them. They are from the caustic biomes, they're kind of used to it here. They can eat loads of different things, but mealwood for me is the easiest one. It, generally speaking, is relatively straightforward. Glossy Dreckos, they come from when they've been eating, when Dreckos have been eating mealwood, they have an increased chance of producing a glossy Drecko egg, and when that happens, these are the guys you can shear for plastic, which is significantly more useful than this type of thing. One thing I will say is, just while this is doing, you might be wondering why I'm making a storage bin. Bleach stone is I like to call it the slime equivalent of the caustic biome, mainly because it off-gasses chlorine gas. It's a minimal amount, but I still think it's probably best to put them in a storage bin, and that way you can sort of prevent it from off-gassing into your base. Because, I mean, the worst thing is they bring it over, and then it's like, it's kind of, once it's in, it's a bit too late to fix. Whereas, like, if you look at so far here, we're kind of like okay for pollution. Everything's, generally speaking, not polluted, with the exception of, I mean, hell, even here, this has kind of fixed itself now, as I wanted it to. This is all breathable. The polluted oxygen is off-gassing occasionally, but it gets caught up by everything else, and this will be mopped up and tidied up. But effectively what I'm doing here, I am setting up a little bit of automation for it, but I will be filtering out the chlorine gas from here, and I will be storing it in a reservoir. The reason I'm putting them in a reservoir, simply put, I would quite like to just be able to keep some. It is, as far as I'm concerned, non-renewable. I think it's very rare you get a chlorine vent, and as such I'd like to hold on to a little bit of it, but effectively the only real purpose is killing germs, and there are other ways to do that. You can freeze things, you can put things in sort of different environments. You put it in carbon dioxide's sterile. Slime lung won't grow in oxygen, it will decrease quite rapidly, but chlorine is by far the fastest way to kill off any germs. So yeah, this will no longer off-gas because it's in water, and I don't have to worry about that now, which is great. So I'm basically going to filter out all of the chlorine here. This will be my first ranch, and upstairs will be my second ranch. But effectively I'm going to filter out a lot of the chlorine here first, so I don't lose out on any of the growth, as Dreckos, they only grow when in chlorine. I'm just actually going to ignore this. Because that's not really worked how I wanted it to, so I'm going to just disable that for now. I'll deconstruct the wire, because it's going to be a bit tricky. But effectively, these guys, they can exist within most temperatures and most biomes, gases I mean. I don't think they're bothered about sort of where they're living. No, they only grow in hydrogen though. That's the big kind of noteworthy point. If you're using them for plastic, it is the same kind of story. It has to be a hydrogen environment that they're in. And I mean, hydrogen environments, the easiest hydrogen environment to get in is that's disabled now. Oh, great, right. The easiest hydrogen environment to get them in is the one that they come from, being the caustic biome. For most other things, the hydrogen can be a bit funny. It is really easy to get once you get it from the what do you call them, the electrolyzers, when you start using spawns. At that point you can kind of have like a really big supply of it. But early game for me, I kind of, once I've got it, I try not to let it go, just because it's one of them things that once you've got it, it's a lot easier to keep the hydrogen you have than to get new hydrogen. And thankfully I don't really have to worry about that now, because I'm about to filter this out, and I will probably get three Drecko Ranches on the go. I'm conscious of this cold biome. I don't really want to go into that, but because Abyssalite doesn't conduct thermally, we should really be fine. I mean, this gas reservoir is getting like an amalgamation of about 100 different gases, but it doesn't particularly matter. What I will do is I'll just dismantle a few of these tiles, he says, and then hopefully that will just aid the filtration of it down. I'll turn the gas pump off for now though. But yeah, I will cut to when the I don't know if I'll need to. Like, this is gonna go. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll just wait for it, because it's not gonna take too long, and I can get started up here anyway. So effectively, the best way to sort of deal with Dreckos. They can be a little bit tricky, but I have found that the most reliable way to keep them fed is by feeding them mealwood. So for 8 Dreckos, sorry, which is the maximum you can get in the stable, same as the what do you call them? Hatches. You need 6 mealwood planted and maintained. These mealwood will be maintained by the duplicants for now. That may change. I may automate that. But generally speaking, your duplicants are going to be in here anyway, because to shear them, they need to be in. But the mealwood itself, I think it just needs fertilizing to grow. It won't be harvested. I will disable harvesting on this, because I don't want it to harvest, truthfully. Because if it starts harvesting my mealwood, my Dreckos don't get fed. And obviously I'd quite like them to maintain living, perhaps. Yeah, so I'm going to get some mealwood going in here, and I will get down the important stations. So I'm going to put the shearing station there, mainly because when my rancher comes in, that's the kind of thing I want him to focus on. I'm not going to do any tricks with getting the Dreckos to stay in the one spot. For me, I found them to be really finicky. And when I say tricks to get them to stay in the one spot, I mean like up here, where I've got the all the hatches in this one half, and this entire part of the stable is completely closed off. I'm not going to do any of that, just purely because I don't want to, and it's unnecessary, I would say. For the little bit of time that they're in this room, I'm quite content with my duplicants sort of wasting that time. I mean, we're kind of here now with this. I don't think that's really going to filter out massively, so I'm going to build in the tiles now, and that'll prevent sort of any huge problems. But it's the same kind of story. The only difference is you don't need to feed them for this one, because they will live on the mealwood, and they will just eat that themselves. So you just need the critter drop-off and the grooming station and the shearing station. And we'll build the grooming station out of, again, I really do recommend building out of whatever's near. And obviously this is where it gets a bit tricky, growing your mealwood, because you need to have it in a gas, and that gas needs to be carbon dioxide, really. You also need to keep it relatively cool. So I will, once this is all put in, and I'll put another set in downstairs, I will show you the way that I kind of handle the mealwood situation, because obviously it can be quite challenging, really. So yeah, I will cut to once I've got sort of 2 ranches set up here, and when I've got we'll go over how I manage the mealwood. Okay, so slightly unrelated, but my sage hatchling has. Well, my sage hatch has hatched, and basically now the it's going to fill itself with slime, because that's what sage hatches eat. Slime, algae, polluted dirt, all of that jazz. And basically I am going to put the sage hatch in here and wire it up to the coal, the same way I've done with every other one. But in terms of our cooling solution, I can sort of explain it now. Effectively, I am running from my... I'm building a liquid pump in my water supply. They will hate building this, but they're going to do it anyway. I run the water from my cool water supply that is 19 degrees-ish into the biome, the caustic biome where my Drecko Ranches are. I have radiant liquid pipes, which are really expensive if you can't afford them. If you've not got the resources for it, use just a normal liquid pipe, preferably something that's thermally conductive. So igneous rock would be a really bad one. I don't know, truthfully, what the best sort of choice would be. I imagine metal would probably be better than sandstone. But effectively, that they will cool these, cool the plants down. And for the carbon dioxide, obviously it's a little bit tricky because you don't want to displace the hydrogen, just simply put. So I'm going to drop in 2 gas vents there, and I will build a gas pump where I know there is a load of carbon dioxide, which is down here. I will drop in a gas pump. I will run a gas pipe. I will build that out of igneous rock because I've got loads of it at the minute, and it's very close to here. And I will very similarly split off a little bit, and I will, sort of more importantly, I'm not going to wire this up yet until I've put the automation in, because I want this to be on for all of a second, really. Because if it's on for ages, it's going to displace all the hydrogen and it's going to ruin everything. Whereas if it's only on for a little bit, there will be a layer of carbon dioxide that will form, and that will prevent any of the that will allow the mealwood to grow, I should say, and prevent the hydrogen from getting out. You'll also notice that the coal situation, I don't know if you have noticed, but I've only got coal pinned here. Since we got the hatches, the coal is at 14 tons. And you might, it was at 14 tons, it's now at 37 tons. You might be thinking, poor, those hatches are dead good. They're not that good. But the way to tell how your hatches are working, if you go to where your chute puts your coal, you see here that the coal output is 4 tons there from hatches. And because the auto sweeper is filling this, it's not being done by duplicates. Effectively, that means that from the hatches we have made 4 tons and consumed, like what we've consumed, we've still got 4 tons left over. So somewhere floating around my colony there is about 31.5 tons of coal just chilling there. It's mainly from the Caustic Biome. There is absolutely loads of coal in here, so we've got a really good reserve going, but for the moment, the way to tell that we're positive in terms of coal is if there's still coal there. When I build another generator in here, it might be slightly harder to tell, and if I have to build another generator up here, that might be also slightly harder to tell. But at the moment, my batteries are solid, and we are having no power issues, and I'd like to keep it that way. But as we add more and more different sort of buildings, as we automate more and more, we're going to need more and more power. So I'm just going to keep an eye on the batteries, but for now I think 2 generators is okay. It won't last forever. It will need other power added on. I think, to be honest, natural gas power will be the obvious choice, given we have the vent. This is just going to be so easy to tame. It will literally just, I'll build probably a wall here, big polluted water tank, natural gas generators, and then I will have to set up some cooling, but that's a little bit further away. I'm just going to take the gold there, purely because I don't want to bother with the eggs. My fridge is full, so I'm also going to build another fridge. These Pacus, I got them in a care package. I haven't killed them yet, but when I do kill them, they will be quite useful. I also know that I can freeze all of this stuff, but I'm not going to yet, just because it's one of them things where it's a bit tricky to get right this early on. But yeah, this should get done quite quickly. I mean, we're getting there now where it's, you know, we're getting right to the end of what we need. I will... Do I want to run a... How should I run this wire? I'm going to run the wire up here. I'll use copper. But I'm conscious we are running out. They should be able to get to that build. But we'll put in a ladder anyway. But yeah, this is going to kind of get done quite quickly, and I will cut to when that has been completed. Okay, so we are now, I mean, we finished one of the ranches. It's now a stable, so that means we can actually start using it. Initially, I'm going to wrangle some Dreckos if I can find. I know there's one that's been roaming around. Yeah, somewhere. It'll turn up. So yeah, we're going to wrangle this Drecko. It's going to get dropped off in this biome, and we are about to start sort of getting to work on the cooling for the plants. This is pending like 6 or so wires, and I'm about to do the gas as well. So I will open the gas overlay, and I will just turn this signal switch on. I will pump a little bit, and in about 2 seconds, we're going to get some carbon dioxide coming out the vent. When that comes out of the vent, it should, it'll like sort of go up initially. And the reason that we kept the tiles here and only built the doors on the top half, I would advise doing this. Basically, it creates a like a carbon barrier on the bottom, like a carbon bath in a way. It holds down all of the carbon dioxide, make sure it stays in the room really. Because if you were to build a door here, what would basically happen is the carbon dioxide would sink. I suppose you could build an airlock if you really wanted to, but I mean that's not really necessary. But effectively, the carbon will initially come out like this and then settle. I will maintain the gas pump, and I will just keep it there, mainly because if for whatever reason this breaks, if people are moving in and out, whatever it may be, I would quite like to make sure that we still have carbon dioxide there. The water is now also flowing, so if we go to the water overlay, you will see that little bits of water go through and it cools it down. So this is now at 31, and it should be getting colder. It's not. I'm not really sure why. What temperature's the water? Yeah, the water's fine. So I think it'll just be a case of it like takes a little bit of time to sort of level out, especially with the gas moving about. But it'll get there. As you can see, the carbon dioxide now is pretty much leveled out to where it needs to be, and we have our first sort of Drecko. If I wire in to the shearing station, once that's, in fact, I'll do that out of iron just for the sake of it. I'll set to priority 6 so I can quickly show you what it does. But effectively, our rancher, who is sort of able to come in here, will come in here and shear our Drecko, and that will produce reed fibre, and that means we can get Atmo suits started. Hopefully we can get them set up in the next episode. I mean, really, Atmo suits are okay, but they should allow us to sort of get into exploring a little bit more. There we go. And getting sort of around the map. But when you shear a Drecko, it basically becomes naked, and it takes some time to grow back. It only grows scales in the hydrogen element, so really you kind of want it to go up a bit more. So it might be worth building in some small tiles, for instance like this, just to keep it in the top half. But obviously it won't necessarily stay there. They can be a little bit finicky. I personally hate dealing with them because they don't like playing ball. They like doing it their way. But yeah, that's Drecko ranching in the early game. It's quite easy to get over this biome. It is a little bit scary, but the liquid lock can be really useful. And once you get that sort of sorted, hopefully the plants will level out. I mean, I'm only getting hotter at the minute, but that might be because of the carbon dioxide, if I had to guess. It remains unclear why it's struggling so much. but it will come down probably quite naturally. What's the water temp coming out? Yeah, so the water's heating up, which means the heat is being displaced, and it will sort of figure itself out. Last printable. I mean, I don't need another duplicate just yet, just for now anyway. But yeah, I mean, these are in here now. As you can see, once that you build it, it'll still go where it wants. But this way, it's sort of forced to go up a little bit more. And yeah, it'll start growing back its scales. Usually it takes around 3 cycles to grow back fully. But I'd probably account for like maybe 5 because of the way that the carbon dioxide sits. Really, you kind of want it to be just one level of carbon dioxide, so I might have actually overdone it there slightly, but because of the way the gases work, if it ever goes above 2, it will level itself out. So really, I could build an airflow tile here, and that would sort it out completely, really. So that might actually be an idea. Let's try that on this one, and hopefully that fixes that. But yeah, that is early game Drecko Ranch, and we got our first reed fiber, and in the next episode we will hopefully get some Atmo suits on the go. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, leave a comment. I am dying to speak to someone, and if you sort of enjoyed, please subscribe as well. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you very much. Catch you in the next one.